Okay, I think it's time to get started. All right, welcome everyone to the Paketo Working Group meeting. I'm really glad to see you all here. Let me share my screen real quick. And I hope you have the agenda notes with you. If not, let me put the link here again. All right, welcome. Yeah, thank you, John and Ryan. Yeah, feel free to add yourself to the attendees list, including your affiliation. There you go. Cool. Folks are joining. That's great. Great. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to take notes for today's session?
I can do that, David.
Hey, thank you, Joshua. There you go. Cool. Any new faces? Not exactly, but yeah, welcome you all. Great. Okay. Being this is the first working group meeting of the month, we will have a roadmap update section as part of the agenda. The team has put together a project, a public board where you can see the overall status of the proposals that are part of the roadmap. Thank you for setting up this. So I guess we should start with the ones in the in progress stage, right? Unless you have a different idea, but we could start with the ones that are in progress. At least labeled as in progress. First one will be secure runtime environment. This was recently discussed. Is any update around this? Or we should create an additional column for a different stage?
The only update is, I guess I'm doing some exploration on this front, just like kind of coinciding with the Jammy stack rollout, just getting a little bit ahead of that. And basically what I'm doing is just running all of the integration tests across all the build packs with stacks that have different user IDs, just to see if there are like issues doing that particular thing. I haven't found anything yet, but I'll be filing issues if I find stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ryan. Next up, implement the stacks based on Yummy Jellyfish.
This is happening. We've got the Jammy tiny and base stack fully done. The Jammy full stack is in progress, I believe. And we're working on builders. I guess like something that doesn't necessarily have to happen in an order, but is helpful, is we need to evaluate whether the build packs that we already have work just fine on Jammy, and if not, what needs to change. So if there's like a certain build pack that you care about or you use and you want to see it on Jammy quickly, something that you can do is like do an investigation to see how it runs with the Jammy stack. That would help us out.
Where would a good place to be to put that information? Should we start a discussion, a top level issue, or file issues on the repos?
That's a good question. Maybe a good place to do it would be on the issues for the, or rather on the repos for the build packs themselves. So like if you find that a build pack is fully compatible with Jammy, but just needs a stack ID added, then you could like file that as an issue. And if you find that something needs to change in the build pack to make it work, then you could file that as an issue.
Got it. Thank you, Frankie. Coffee. Right, next one. Well, this is part of the explorations, right? The dependency management.
Yep, this is in flight. We've talked about it a few times. We have the 4 different RFCs open to cover this, and there's been some good discussion there. I think we talked about getting some updates from like the Java side and finding out like how deeply they would be bought into this proposal and if it would even work. And I think that's like the #1 thing we have left to figure out on this. But besides that, it's in flight, and I'm not entirely sure if there's anything we can be doing in the meantime until these are approved. I saw an example RFC that, not an example, but I saw Josh put in an RFC for Python dependencies, which I think would be a good example for what we will eventually want to do for every language family. But I'm not sure if we should go ahead and start doing that until we've solidified the plan. Not to call you out, Josh. Still, I think a really good idea.
All right. Thank you, Sophie. Again, if there's any comment, observation for any of these items, just let us know. All right, next one, distribute Buildpacks via Docker Hub. Seems like it's mostly done. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Java and or Rust may be the laggard here.
I thought Dan had mentioned that Java was done, but I don't know. We should ping him and get him to update this if it's true.
Yeah, I'll ping him to that again. Great. Thank you. Next up, default behavior for Buildpacks set language ecosystem environment variables. Is there any update on the status of this proposal?
I think I commented that I think we think we're done, but the thing that's missing is like, I don't think anyone has actually surveyed all of the build packs to confirm that we don't actually have instances that might violate this. So it's just someone needs to take the time to like make up a list of build packs, go through their source code and confirm that the spec is adhered to.
Okay, so that will be the action item for this one. All right, I'll make sure to put that in the notes so we can capture and follow up. Great. Next up, common login levels for Buildpacks. Seems like in progress, right?
I think this is also one of those like mostly done situations. We should take the time to come up with a list and someone can go and like put the list in here and like check off those build packs that are already complying.
Okay.
I've seen it on a number of build packs. I know we've done a lot of build packs to convert this. I just don't know if we've done all of them.
Got it. All right. Okay. Next one, reloadable process types. Yeah, again, mostly done, seems like. I don't know if anyone else has any update on this proposal? Nope. All right, but yeah, seems like mostly done, I'd say. Okay, next one, remote debug. Oh, man, keep doing this.
The most recent update is that there's an open RFC for .NET Core to receive some additions that will enable remote debug support. So if you're interested in that, check out the RFC's repo and the .NET Core remote debugging RFC that's open.
Yeah, probably we'll see that RFC in the section where we explore RFCs, right? It's still open, right? That's correct. Okay, cool. Okay, next one, support for Cyclone Dx and SIF. Looks like mostly there. Is this another case of having to go to release, exploring if all Buildpacks have the support, or?
I don't think so. The most recent one is .NET Core has landed at least initial support for SBOM in its build pack. I'm pretty sure we haven't done any of the work in either web servers or PHP. But everything else that's checked off here, I think, is done and supports SBOM.
Cool.
Something around that I wanted to surface. This came up a while ago in the Paketo Slack, but maybe bears repeating. Currently, with the way that we have Cyclone Dx and SPDX SBOMs implemented, the SBOMs themselves are not reproducible, meaning like for the same app, if you generate the SBOM 2 times, the SHAs of those documents will be different. The reasons for that are basically like data that gets included in the SBOM per the specifications. The upshot of this is that when we attach Cyclone Dx and SPDX SBOMs to our images as per like this RFC, we produce images that are not reproducible, which is sort of like a value proposition of cloud native build packs, but as far as I know, not a guarantee that we're making. So I just wanted to flag that because it basically means like as we roll this out to more and more places, unless we intentionally do something to fix this, we're making more and more build pack builds non-reproducible.
Is there like some sort of
something that, sorry,
go ahead.
go on. That sounds like something that should be addressed, right? Like otherwise we could also get rid of the 1970 date the image is produced and other things that look odd if you look at them, right? So I guess that's something that needs addressing. If I recall it correctly, if that was the conversation, then there was actually even something that could be done, right? By not including some UUIDs that are not actually mandatory from the SBOM specs.
We definitely should be considering an RFC that outlines what we could do on that front. It would be great to see one that just says when Paketo outputs. I believe it's Cyclone Dx is the one that's violating this.
SPDX also is, and with SPDX, the violating data is like part of the required spec. So that's a bit of a thing. I'm gonna summarize this on this issue here so that we don't lose track of this. Yeah, but for Cyclone Dx, I think there's a path to sorting this out.
Great. Thank you all for your comment. Okay, next one, implement builders, RFC, the YAML builders. Yeah, I guess Frankie already mentioned this, right? Working on builders. Cool. All right, next up, update Bionic stack. Yeah, recent updates, like it's in progress, right?
I think the tiny stack at least has been fully updated and now replaces what was previously there. Sophie, I think you have the latest info. You want to give an update?
Yeah, sorry. Tiny is updated. You're right. And releases are being cut and all the workflows on the old Tiny stack release repo are disabled, but I think I can go in and just archive the old repository now that things are going smoothly on the new repository. And a PR has been opened for base, but it hasn't been merged in by stacks maintainers yet. I think Rob is the other stacks maintainer and he should be back this week, I think. So hopefully that will be going through. And then I'm not entirely sure if full is in flight or not, but that hopefully shouldn't be too bad since we've already done base. But anyways, yeah, this is well on its way.
Cool, thank you. Let me pause this. All right. Wow. Okay. Cool. Right. Yeah, well, seems like that's it in terms of in progress RFCs. So I don't know for the ones that are set as planned, if you want to have a short discussion about these ones or maybe not.
For all three of those, I don't know if there's any sort of update. They're on the back burner while this other stuff that's in progress is a little bit more high priority.
Cool. Great, thank you all. Any other comment about the roadmap, current status? No. Okay, I guess we can move to the next item, the outstanding RFCs. So first one will be the health checker build pack. I think it needs an update from Dan, I believe. Trying to remember. It already has approvals and some approvals, but guess we'll need to check again with Dan, or I don't know if anyone else has an update or comment about this proposal. No. Okay. Next up, the support for Yarnberry. I don't know if Tim is back. Yep.
Hey, yeah. I was able to finish proving out a proof of concept for not having separate build packs for Berry and Yarn Classic. And with that, there will need to be some pretty large changes to the RFC as it's laid out here. So I'm in the midst of that right now. Once that's done, should be smooth sailing and then ready for review again.
Got it. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Next one, the Dependency Management RFCs.
I don't have anything to add here besides what I mentioned before. I would like to chat with Dan and anybody else with context on the Java side. I might just set up some time to do that synchronously because there's just like a lot of text. But again, if anybody has any other thoughts, please put them down in the RFC so we can like get the ball rolling on this. Frankie, I saw you left a couple of new comments today that I will take a look at, but yeah. I'm not sure if anybody like has anything that they'd like to see changed. And this would really be the time. Because as we start looking into doing the Jammy work, it would be nice if we could also combine some of that investigation with the stuff outlined in this RFC.
Right. Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, a lot of effort on this set of proposals. So we encourage you to add your comments, observations in the PRs themselves. Okay. Next up, new feature checklist. Yeah, I don't see Forrest here. We already have some reviews, but wondering, is there any comment about this proposal or any new comment? Nope. Cool. I have to check this with the authors. Okay, another proposal from last week. Move dep and dep ensure Buildpacks. Wondering if besides what's in the PR, is there any additional discussion to this proposal? Okay. And next up, also a recent proposal, .NET Core remote debugging support. One that was mentioned in the roadmap item. Yeah, again, recent comments. Besides that, is there anything else you would like to discuss here about this proposal?
I don't think so. It's in like an updated state. I think all the comments there have been addressed. So if folks want to review what's there, that would be great.
Awesome. Next up, a new Rfc Python Dependencies. So Josh, I don't know if you want to briefly introduce the proposal.
I wrote this. I actually had thought that this PR was still in draft, but you know, that's okay. Within the Python language family, we're using 4 Paketo hosted dependencies. They're listed there: CPython, Poetry, pip, and pipenv. For a while now, 2 of those dependencies, we were not actually using the Paketo provided dependency or the Paketo hosted dependency. That's for Poetry and pipenv. We're actually using pip as a package manager and just installing them via pip install commands. And so the dependencies are being directly downloaded from the internet, which is a bit weird. And it seems to have been related to a change a while back that I don't quite remember. But in any case, now that we're looking at the dependency management stuff via the RFCs that we've been chatting about, I decided to go in here and say, do we actually want to keep these as Paketo hosted dependencies? We could choose to wait on doing this PR until after we have accepted the other dependency management RFCs. I don't think it's technically blocked because we can move away from these Paketo hosted dependencies without needing to go to the new dependency management scheme. But basically the recommendation is listed there at the top for Poetry and pipenv. The recommendation is to remove those as Paketo hosted dependencies and install them via the pip install command. The Python language family does not support offline mode, so there's no problem theoretically in reaching out to the internet to grab these things. There's some interesting impacts for layer reuse. Poetry and pipenv have transitive dependencies, and those versions are not fixed. They're floating version ranges. And so every time you run this command of pip install, Poetry at some version, you might get slightly different transitive dependencies coming in from that. And so we don't really have a good way to know whether or not we should reuse the layer from a previous build for that particular version of Poetry or pipenv. And so there's some conversation in here about some of the impacts of that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. PipInv, version whatever, or poetry version whatever, they've explicitly allowed their transitive dependencies to float to the latest thing. And so I might anticipate that that's what application developers want as well. And that means theoretically we might end up getting newer versions of things without having to bump the version of poetry or PipInv. But it goes into it a little bit more in there, and I'd appreciate some comments on that. Once again, sorry, I actually thought this was in draft, and I was going to keep it in draft until I had a chance to discuss this with the other Python maintainers. But if anyone has any feedback, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Any comment right now about this proposal? Thank you, Josh. And yeah, feel free to add your comments to the PR itself. Cool. Yeah, this proposal was written by Thomas Vitali. He's a user. He's on vacation right now, so was not able to join the meeting to actually introduce the proposal. But he would like to do so at the next meeting. But again, in the meantime, feel free to read it and provide your comment right there. Any comment right now? No. I hope the author himself can join next week so we can have further discussion with him. Cool. And finally, the RFC to publish images to ECR, I guess is the.
No one's seen this yet because I opened it during this meeting, unless you're all looking to get a preview. But this RFC is proposing that in addition to Docker Hub, we publish images to ECR. The reason this came about was sort of as a request from the app runner team who's looking at adding Buildpack integrations and want it to be as performant as possible. But I think even outside of that, it does make sense as a thing to do if it can be done with a reasonable hassle, without too much hassle and cost, in order to improve the experience of working on one of these cloud providers. And then depending on how we feel about how that rollout goes, maybe something we want to consider doing for other cloud providers. I know this is sort of going a different direction from our Docker Hub is the one true source of images, but I think there's compelling reasons from a performance and just sort of like an idiomatic standpoint for users, using like a platform like KPack or Tekton or these more cloud provider specific platforms to get the best experience having the images co-located in the same cloud provider's infrastructure. So everyone take a look and let me know what you think.
Even in this case, though, we'd still keep the registry references to just point at Docker Hub, right?
What do you mean by the registry references?
The Buildpack registry, the CNB registry.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm not proposing any change to that right now. I don't know how that handles. I haven't looked into how that handles multiple registries, but I think having a single place makes the most sense for that because people generally only use it with Pack, at which point these differences are immaterial. So yeah. And then in advance of putting this up, I was just paranoid enough to get an AWS account and request our custom alias so that the things I'm proposing here are things that we would have the ability to publish to. I don't think that request has gone all the way through yet, but we've put the request in. And because the AWS team has been working with us on this, I think we feel pretty confident we can get the namespace we want and get it verified.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Is there any additional comment right now for this proposal? No. Again, otherwise, please add it to the PR. Cool. Great. Seems like that's it in terms of RFCs. So next up, we have upstream updates or questions. Yeah, right now I don't have any update from last week from the CMB project. Wondering if you all had some. There are some, updates on RFCs and proposal, but besides that, not sure if you had something or wanted to ask a question, or we can move to the next item. Cool. Project update. Well, I had one. Just this morning, we sent out the first installment of the Paketo community newsletter. All you need to do is to join the mailing list, and we'll be sorting out the format, learning on how to provide updates right now every 2 weeks of what's new in the project overall. So we hope you find it useful. Right, if you want to drop something to the newsletter, I just feel free to. I was thinking on how to do it, collaboratively, probably opening an issue, an actual GitHub issue for each installment or something different, so everyone can contribute to the newsletter. But yeah, so far it's the first version, and we'll keep learning and iterating on this. Cool. Okay, anything else? Any additional update or topic you would like to bring up here? No. Okay, well, thank you for your time and hope to see you next week. Thank you.